morning. We call the meeting to order of the City Council on October the 20th. And if you join me in the invocation, and then we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag and to the Texas flag. Father, thankful for this day, and we pray that you'd continue to watch over us through this day and this week. We continue to pray for those that are providing the services necessary to meet the needs in our community through the pandemic. Be with our first responders and the medical people, and continue to give them the strength and the energy and the rest that they need to meet their calling. We pray for our country. We pray for our city. These things we ask in your name. Amen. Join me in the pledge to the American flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Huerta, if you'll call the roll.
Mayor Joe McComb.
Here.
Council members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Ben Molina.
Present.
Everett Roy. Greg Smith.
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni.
Here.
City Attorney Miles Risley. Mayor and Council, a quorum of the council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
All right, and I have a handful of submitted public comments, and it looked like some of them are saying they're looking for a phone call if necessary, and others were just for regular comment, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if you've got that on those that need to be called if they wanted to speak?
Yes, sir. Well,
right.
If we're ready, I'll go ahead and we can start that process.
Well, let's get started on that.
Very good. Mr. Clancy?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Can you please state your name and address and then make your comment?
Sure. My name is Jim Clancy. I'm the managing partner of the Branscombe Law Firm, 802 North Karankawa, Suite 1900, Corpus Christi, Texas, 78401.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. I've done so much Zoom work these days. Talking on the phone in this way is a new experience. So I hope you'll bear with me as I work my way through the comments. I represent Coonrod Electric, and I wanted to speak to you about a Hurricane Harvey billing dispute. The people of the city pulled together during Hurricane Harvey, and in emergencies, unexpected things occur. One of those things was that in Hurricane Harvey, the city had to move the EOC at Development Services Building to the airport because the backup generator didn't work. The city's regular electric contractor was unable to find a backup generator, so the city reached out to Coonrod Electric. They were told in writing by the city, this is considered an emergency purchase, therefore we are permitted to supersede standard procedures. Coonrod found a generator in Carrizo Springs. However, when it prepared the bid for the city, it made a mistake. It wrote $1,400 per week instead of $14,000 per week. Coonrod paid its vendor, and then it billed the city for $14,000 a week. It wasn't until after the generator was removed that the city told Coonrod it was not going to pay the amount that was due, but the amount that was bid. The legal doctrine that applies is mistake, and the elements of a remedial mistake is that, one, the mistake is unconscionable, and a 10 times mistake is unconscionable. Two, the mistake must have been made regardless of the exercise of ordinary care. And in that hurricane, Coonrod did exercise ordinary care. And 3, the parties can be placed in the original status quo, except there's no resultant prejudice other than except for the loss of the bargain. For example, the city didn't choose the Coonrod bid because it was lower or something else. It was the only one that they could get. The San Antonio Court of Appeals has decided a case exactly like this one and ruled in favor of the contractor who made the mistake. In that case, the contractor $147,000 instead of $247,000.
Mr. Clancy, I'm sorry, your time is up. I'm sorry. Yeah, your time is up. But we do have your written comments. Thank you, sir. Okay, bye. Hello? What's the name? Coonrod? Okay, thank you. Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, can you please state your name and address and then make your comment?
My name is Tony Coonrod. I reside at 323 Inverness in Portland, Texas. I'm calling in concerning a generator that was rented to the city of Corpus Christi for just after Hurricane Harvey. And so our business, CEC, was started in 1956 by C.W. Coonrod, which is my dad, and we are an electrical contractor with a home office in Sinton, Texas. After Hurricane Harvey, we received many calls for generators from other cities, from many cities and industrial clients and everything. At the peak, we rented around 40 generators and had them hooked up for many different people. We worked with San Francisco Municipal Water District, the city of Sinton, Woodsboro, Refugio, Rockport, to name a few, all in good faith. We were called by the city of Corpus Christi to look into supplying a generator for the EOC building at 2406 Leopard. Arnold Barrero with City of Sinton, with CEC, went and looked at the job, met with him, worked up a proposal, and him and Danny Cook sent the proposal. The proposal was accepted, and we located the generator after diligent effort, and we found one in Carrizo Springs, Texas. Very difficult to find generators right after the hurricane. So we installed the generator. We provided it. We had labor and we had the hauling. We set up the fuel system and got everything ready and checked out. Once that we sent out an invoice, and we found out that the invoice was denied by the city, or was in question of the city. So we came back and they said that there was an error in it, and we got to checking into it. And when we originally sent the invoice, our bid letter out, it was for $1,400 a week instead of $14,000 because we accidentally left off a zero. The PO that we received from the city was a verbal PO. We asked for a written PO, and we didn't receive one until later on in the system. And due to their regulations at the time, they said it was emergency, and that permitted them to send a PO without a hard copy that superseded their standard procedures. So anyway,
Mr. Coonrod? I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you so much. Okay.
working with several surrounding cities to supply power to water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant, fire, police stations, along with several oil company facilities. Everyone in Coonrod was working many hours to help get the area back to normal. We located a generator. I worked up my proposal and sent it to Mr. Danny Cook, president of CEC, so that he could copy it onto a letterhead and email it to the city of Corpus. As I was out in the field walking down other projects and assisting our crews install power systems, Mr. Cook sent the proposal to the city on August the 30th, at which time we received a verbal notice to proceed. The generator was delivered Friday, September 1, and final connections were completed on Saturday, September 2. The city rented the generator from September 1 to October 17, 2017. Coonrod's invoiced the city on October 19, and on November 3, 2017, Coonrod received a notice on invoice errors from the city stating we had overbilled the rental of the generator. I reviewed the invoice and the proposal and found that in my haste to put together the proposal, I listed the rental of the generator as $1,400 instead of $14,000 a week. The mistake was mine. I left off a zero in the rental rate of the generator, and the generator rental was the most expensive item on the invoice. Coonrod responded to the city of Corpus Christi's needs in good faith, and I hope the city can find a way to make Coonrod Electric whole. This concludes my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cook?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you state your name and address, please, and then make your comment?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Danny Cook, president of Coonrod Electric. Our corporate address is 213 North Rochelle, Sinton, Texas 78387. Thank you all for giving me the time to speak today. I wanted to highlight some of the negotiations that we attempted to have with the city. As Mr. Arnold mentioned, Mr. Edgar Leonard sent us a letter on November the 3rd contesting our invoices. In this letter, he actually attached a hard copy of the PO, which was the first time that Coonrod Electric was ever provided a hard copy of the PO. It's impossible to think that had we had received a hard copy of the PO, that we wouldn't have noticed right away that the $40,000 on that hard copy PO was hardly enough to cover 3 weeks, much less the 6 weeks it was out there. We responded on November the 14th via letter, providing background and proof of the typo, and reminded the city they did not provide a hard copy. Also, in that letter, we offered concession to forego all profit for the services provided to the city. And just to cover our costs, on the 7th, Mr. Arnold spoke with Mr. Edgar, and he stated that his director, Ms. Sylvia Carrillo-Trevino, was not willing to hear our case at all. He stated that Coonrod would have to pursue other avenues. On the 7th, I began calling city officials myself, and I started with Ms. Carrillo-Trevino, and she couldn't be reached. Her line just kept ringing out with no voicemail. I then left a message for Mr. Leonard. I did not receive a phone call back from either of them, so on the 11th, I contacted Ms. Carrillo-Trevino again and received Ms. Alice, the receptionist this time, and she said she'd pass along the message. I did receive a return phone call, so on the 13th, I called and left a message for City Manager Margie Rose. In addition, I sent her an email. That day, I received a response from Ms. Rose, and she copied Ms. Carrillo-Trevino, and said that she would get back with me and thank me for updating her. I received a phone call, which I missed, and an email from Ms. Carrillo-Trevino on the 14th, and stated that our claim that the amount was erroneous and simply not factual. Immediately thereafter, I called her, Ms. Carrillo-Trevino. She was very rude and condescending. She referred me to the city attorneys 3 times. At that point, I asked her if she was asking us to get legal counsel. She just responded to me the case was closed, at which point we spoke with Mr. Jim at Branscombe. We sent a letter via Branscombe on January the 12th, again explaining our typographical error, the city's errors, and also reminding them that we were foregoing all profit in an attempt to just cover our costs. The city responded on February 12th, denying assistance in any way. Coon Rod Electric was billed a total of 130.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. We appreciate it. Your time is up. Thank you, sir. Mr. Berlanga? Hello, Mr. Berlanga? Okay, would you? Yes, you're a little garbled, but we can hear you. So can you please state your name and address and then make your comment?
Albert Blanca, 28 Corpus Christi, Texas. I'm here
Mr. Berlanga, you're it's very garbled. We can't hear you very well.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, but it's a little hard. There's a lot of static.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Much better, okay. All right, I'm sorry. Hugo Berlanga, 28 Hewitt, Corpus Christi, Texas. I'm here on behalf of Coon Rod. And unfortunately, this is a situation that's been caught in the perfect storm. Transitions in city managers, transitions dealing with other major issues that the city's been facing, hurricanes, this pandemic. Now, I have attempted to share as much of this information with not only you, Mayor, but also the City Council members over the course of the last year or so. And unfortunately, we just haven't been able to get in front of and make our plea. So this is the only avenue that we got left. And so, again, you've got all the information in your packet. It outlines exactly to ensure that, hey, the price that was quoted was comparable to what the going rates are for these type of generators. But at the end of the day, it's very important for the city of Corpus Christi to always to be able to get their goods and services. I can assure you that if it was the opposite, where the city had overpaid, just like the Texas Work Commission has overpaid over $24 million and is trying to collect it back from those people who received it, you would be out there doing the same thing to Coon Rod if the shoe was on the other side. And again, all they're asking is to be made whole for the actual amount that they have paid to secure that piece of equipment. This is not coming to Coon Rod. Coon Rod's already attempted to discount all their services in order to ensure that at least they recover the money that they're out of pocket, direct out of pocket costs. This is a small company. A $100,000 hit is a $100,000 hit. And so again, I would respectfully ask that y'all consider making them whole, and would request that the City Council take a real hard look at this and let's settle this. Let's not go to the courthouse over this, and put it on your next agenda, next council agenda for approval. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Berlanga. Hello? Okay, thanks. Ms. Rivera?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, can you state your name and address and then make your comment?
I start now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, my name is Norma Rivera of 7526 Exeter Court, Corpus Christi, Texas, 78414. Dear City Council members, I am protesting agenda item number 5, record services for city-owned vehicles on the grounds that the city charter was compromised 3 different times. The first time was when the request for bid 3070, page 5, item J, states, bidders are welcomed and encouraged to attend the bid opening. 2 days before the bid was due, Cynthia Bettis of Procurement and Contracts told me that I was not allowed to be present due to COVID-19. Mayor McComb ordered us to work from home on March 27th, giving the Procurement and Contracts Department all of April, May, June, July to make accommodations, to revise the bid to make accommodations for COVID instructions. The second compromise is visible on the bid tabulations. 3 tow companies placed bids. The lowest bid, the lowest responsible bidder is CC Wrecker Service. So I just don't understand why he's not being awarded or on the reading. So the last week's reading, it does not include CC Wrecker. Take a look at the bid tabulations. CC Wrecker, he was told he was disqualified for not having a truck. He had mentioned it, and it's none of the reasons that it's not a disqualifying reason that's listed on page 8 of the bid. The third reason is the current towing, the current towing contract. Towing vendor charges for fees that are outside and not stated in the contract number 167. For example, there's a $3,342.50 fee for recovery services. There's a $550 winch out fee, $300 labor fee, $3,000 equipment and services fee. This gave him an unfair advantage to me. I did not know we were able to charge for those fees. So I'm asking you to please do not sign that second reading. I think this is a very serious matter. We need to pull it. We need to get it revised, and it needs to be resolicited. Thank you for your time, and I do want you to know that I emailed the city council members copies of all the invoices that I just mentioned. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Hello? Ms. Cavazos?
Yes.
Hi, will you please state your name and address and then make your comment?
Yes. My name is Valerie Cavazos of CC Wrecker Service. Our office address is 3622 Apollo Road, Corpus Christi, Texas, 78413. I'd like to say, well, good afternoon or good morning still. I wanted to take the time to speak to state some facts regarding the item of Wrecker Services of city-owned vehicles, which is on the agenda for today. Our bid at just under $170,000 per year for a 3-year term, CC Wrecker was deemed or indeed the lowest responsible bidder. By communication via email and phone, we were advised by the procurement office that we were subsequently disqualified for the reason of, at the time, not having a second applicable tow vehicle active in the fleet, as outlined in the scope of work. Now, this is due to a COVID-19 based delivery issue of the vehicle. In review of page 8, section 3.7 of the RFP, this reason is not listed as a formal reason for disqualification. As the time of bidding and before what would be the award date, we now have a second rotator, the applicable vehicle, active in our fleet. With this, it is our strong belief that there are no grounds for disqualification of CC Wrecker. Though the main question we are raising is of how the intended awardee of the agreement had the ability to enter a bid lower than CC Wrecker Service after the bidding had already closed. We believe that the intended awardee is the current agreement holder currently working on an expired term. CC Wrecker Service and presumably any other bidders were not extended the opportunity to revise their pricing or taken into consideration to do so if that was necessary, and it is our belief that this opportunity was extended to the intended awardee only. In the respect of due diligence, and most importantly in the case of providing a fair opportunity to not only CC Wrecker, but to any other bidders included in the RFP, I encourage you, council members, to delay the award of the service agreement until the questions raised herein have been answered, and additionally for transparency, that the answers can be provided to all bidders involved with this RFP. I do thank you for your time and your listening ears. We appreciate each one of you and your service to the city of Corpus Christi. On behalf of CC Wrecker Service, thank you for allowing us to speak today.
Thank you very much. You too. Hello? Ms. Rivera?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you state your
Hi.
name and address? Hi. Can you state your name and address and make your comment, please?
Sure. Hi, this is Gloria Rivera. I reside at 344 Clifford, Corpus Christi, Texas, 78404. And I am calling in regards to item J5 that's on today's agenda. It's a towing contract for city-owned heavy-duty vehicles. Now, I have had the opportunity to review some of the current vendor invoices, and I noticed that there are some additional fees and charges that are not mentioned nor stated on the current approved bid. Right here in front of me, I have 4 different invoices. Invoice A155164, the tow is $300, mileage $145, but there's a recovery services fee of $3,342.50. Yeah, the total of that bill is $3,687.50. Invoice A155221. The bill is just a flat $3,000 for extra cable and extra rigging. Invoice A158498. There's a $300 tow. Winching of $550. That's more than the tow. Total bill $850. Invoice A161769. Tow $300. Labor $300 also. More than the tow. Total $600. Now these invoices were approved and paid. Now, after seeing these invoices, you can understand why this would affect the numbers that any of the bidding vendors would submit to get that awarded contract. The current bid was signed and approved by the city back in February of 2017. Now, it is a 3-year contract, but we're well into the 4th year. And I believe it's worth the wait for the city to pull this item out until we can get this cleared and resolved. And that's it for now. I do want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. All right.
Is that it, Ms. Huerta?
I think we have one more.
One more?
Yes, sir. Hello? Hello? Mr. Resendez?
Yes.
Okay, would you please state your name and address and then make your comment?
My name is Dave Resendez. My address is 8702 King Ranch Drive, and I am the president of DRR and RS Incorporated, Apollo Towing. Council, every time that my company bids on a contract, we are accused of collusion with the city and several other things. The police department has been accused of it, then the city staff is tormented by the same people. We got back feed?
Sorry?
Yeah, okay, I guess it was back going. But every contract that comes up, the city is accused of some kind of collusion. We bid in good faith. We have held to the terms of our contract. They are talking about invoices that were outside of the contract. Sometimes things happen. Our billing has always been fair, and we have done a great job. I ask you to move forward for this agenda item, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Hello? Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Okay, will you please state your name and address and make your comment?
My name is Michael Staff. My address is 6318 Harwick Street. I am the Vice President of Apollo Towing Service, which is the bid award winner for this particular item, and we are seeking your approval on this second vote. I heard some earlier comments, and for the record, the invoices that were quoted to be beyond the scope of the contract are unusual circumstances that go above and beyond a routine tow. The contract is set up for routine towing. Occasionally, there are very specific instances, such as an accident, for instance, where additional fees and charges have been approved by the city. Everything has always been above boards. Everything has always been transparent. And everything has always been approved, not only by city service, but by city purchasing. And I want to add that this purchasing agreement that we're going through this time, yes, COVID is an unusual circumstance, but in my opinion, there is not one time that city purchasing nor anyone else involved with the city didn't do everything above boards and give fair and advance notice. We believe everything is ready to roll. There is a complete and utter misunderstanding of anybody else that is in this industry as to what the numbers actually are. And I believe city staff later in the presentation of the agenda will explain how that has happened and why there is confusion. But ultimately, the numbers are what they are, and we should be seeking approval. And I thank you for your time, and I look forward to your approval and continuing our service for the city of Corpus Christi. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Staff. Okay, Mayor, that concludes the call-ins for today.
All right, and those were addressed at a specific item, so I guess we can discuss them when the item comes up.
Yeah, item 5, yes, sir, most of those were.
All right, thank you. Item F, City Manager's Report, update on city operations.
Okay, yes, sir. Good morning, Mayor, members of the council, and the community. Just a couple of updates, and then Annette is going to give us an update on COVID-19. So first, I'm going to begin with our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So we have a 10-year master plan, and it needs to be updated. It's a little bit close to 10 years old today. So this week, the Parks and Recreation Department will kick off the development of the updated 10-year master plan. And the plan will be designed through a process that will be interactive, given COVID especially, and it'll have an extreme emphasis on public input in developing the plan. So there's a lot of public engagement that'll take place. There'll be many meetings with residents, stakeholders. We have an advisory committee that'll be engaged as well. City staff and city council will all be engaged in this process. So the purpose of the plan is to assess the current state of our park system. We also have recreational opportunities and then our open space systems, including our beaches. The plan will identify needs and deficiencies, and it will establish goals and priorities for improving our system over the next 10 years. So this is a very important plan document for the city. The master plan will also look at changing trends locally, regionally, and nationally, and will identify citizens' needs and options. What do they want in our park system? So through a competitive bid process, the city selected half associates. They're from Austin, Texas, to develop the 10-year plan. Their contract was approved by City Council late this summer. Now, HAF does have experience in parks master planning across the country, but especially in South Texas and in coastal communities as well. And they have a strong emphasis on public input, which is attractive to us. That was important in our review process. So HAF, even though they're in Austin, they're dedicating a full service team to the project, and they'll also have the ability to call upon local and regional planning and landscape professionals here in the city. So as I mentioned, the last time the Parks Master Plan was updated was in 2012, and it is due for a major update. So it begins this week with staff. There's a staff kickoff meeting on Thursday. There'll be many events coming up that will continually engage the community, and we'll keep the council informed as we develop this plan. Just want to put it on our radar, make sure the council's aware. Okay, so from parks, we're going to move to streets, and this is an update on one of our bond program projects, the Morgan Avenue Road reconstruction. Just wanted to give you all an update on this. I know many of you drive by it every day. So the Morgan Avenue construction project is $11.5 million project. It's funded from 2 prior bond programs. The project is basically about a 1-mile road reconstruction all the way from Crosstown Expressway to Ocean Drive. And it's being completed in 2 phases. And so the project consists of new sidewalks, ADA ramps, curbs, gutters, an asphalt roadway, and underground utilities. So it's a pretty extensive project. Construction did start in January 2020. The project is on schedule and it's on budget as well. And today, if you look at the project from that whole mile stretch, it's about 40% complete. So just under 50% complete. Phase 1 takes the 3 northern lanes from Crosstown to 5th Street, and it's redoing all those. So the northern three lanes from Crosstown to 5th Street. And then the second segment of that Phase 1 is 5th Street to Ocean Drive, and that section, all lanes are being done. So 5th Street to Ocean, it's about a quarter of the project limits. Both north and south lanes are being done simultaneously. And that section will be done by January 2021. So when we drive by Ocean Drive, you take a look at the right. From Ocean all the way up to 5th Street will be complete by January, this coming January. And then Phase 2 is the southern lanes of Crosstown from 5th Street all the way up to Crosstown Expressway. And that will start in January, and it should be done by July 2021. Okay, so that project's coming along real good. We'll keep the community updated, especially the business community and the council along the way. Okay, let's talk about Buck Days. Even though they've been postponed, there still are fundraising events that the Buck Days are doing. And I want to congratulate or thank Chief Markle. I think he's here. Yep, there he is. And Assistant Chief David Blackman, Assistant Director of Solid Waste David Layfelt, and then Assistant Director of Airport Kevin Smith. They represented the city and participated in this past Saturday's Buck Days Clay for a Cause shooting tournament. It was a fundraiser to help the Buck Days. So I heard Chief Markle had the best score of the team, and we hope he did, right? We would have been a little worried if he hadn't, but yeah. So the annual event helps to raise dollars for scholarships to students in South Texas. And students that have received the scholarship have gone to Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, Baylor, and Yale. So the city is glad to be a proud sponsor and a partner of the Buck Days, and we look forward to participating in these fundraisers more in the future. Okay, and then finally, the net's gonna, yeah, there's a net. I just want to give an update on flu vaccines. And so the city is leading by example. We're making sure all city employees get the flu shot this year. We're making it free to all city employees and their eligible dependents. And so all employees can receive, will receive, or they did receive yesterday, a voucher for the flu shot. And it's in conjunction with the city and Caremark. So we just want to point that out. Okay, and with that, we're going to have Annette Rodriguez come up and give us an update on COVID-19. Annette?
Thank you. So I'm going to give a quick COVID-19 update. So first slide, please. So just to look at the Texas cases versus, not versus, but Nueces County cases. So Texas has had 828,527 people confirmed with COVID-19 with 17,000 fatalities. Nueces County just reached the 21,000 number, 21,005 yesterday for Nueces County. Next slide. The cases by months, we all know that July was our peak month at 11,826 cases, and we currently have 313 positive cases in October. So the numbers are are going down, so that's some good news. Next slide. Our daily cases, if you look at the last week, while the week prior we had some single digits case numbers, this week we've only had one day, 1014, with 6 cases. All the other days are 20, 38, 33, 39, 11, and 12 yesterday. Today we're at 19 so far. Next slide. The number of deaths by months, if you look at on the left side, the highest months where we saw the most deaths was August at 177. If you look at the last week, we've had 4 deaths this past week, and we've actually had 4 days with no deaths. So definitely improving. Next slide. How are the schools doing? If you look on the left side, the Texas school numbers, 9,719 students are positive out of the 2 million students, and 6,454 of the staff out of 800,078 faculty members. The percentage is actually higher for the staff cases than the students because of the denominator being a lower number. If you look at Nueces County, we've had a total of 30 staff that have been positive in the ISDs, and we've had a total of 97 students that have been positive for COVID-19. Bishop ISD has closed down as of yesterday for 2 weeks, and basically they just went back to virtual learning, which is really a good thing. They've had some positive staff, some positive students, and that's what we're hoping all of the ISDs will be able to do, to be able to be flexible if they see that they have cases and they're wanting to go back to virtual learning, to be able to do that, and then after those 2 weeks to come back to face-to-face instruction. Next slide. So what are the public health strategies? So the areas, first of all, that we're concerned with are that as our numbers improve, people seem to get a little bit laxed with wearing a mask and those types of public health strategies that we've been talking about for months. So the increase in social gatherings is also a concern to us, the different holidays coming up. The increase in the improper use of masks, and again, I think that's just getting a little relaxed with, everybody's has this pandemic fatigue, and so if it slides a little bit, they're starting to give up, and we can't give up. And then the failure to fulfill the quarantine criteria of the 14 days. So when do we wear a mask? So that's the question. So if you're at home with people you live with in your household, do you wear a mask? No, you do not need to. But if you're in gatherings with within 6 feet of others that are not in your household, absolutely wear a mask. If you're running errands, absolutely. If you're going to the doctor's office or pharmacy, absolutely. Even if you're dining in at a restaurant, you should be wearing a mask until your food arrives. Then you can eat your food. When you're done, put your mask back on. Driving in a personal vehicle with people that live in your household, no. But if you're taking public transportation or you're carpooling, and we've seen this with some of the ISDs, people that are carpooling, one gets COVID-19 and then the other person gets it as well, you should both be wearing a mask. Next slide. So what are the quarantine guidance? Stay at home if you've been exposed to someone with COVID-19. That's the big news item. So everybody knows quarantine keeps someone who was exposed to a positive COVID-19 away from others, and therefore reducing the possible infection to others. The reason I bring it up is because we seem to have some of these issues with the ISDs. And so a household member will be positive for COVID-19, but then they want to send their kids to school. They cannot do that. They're in quarantine for 14 days. So they have to, they can still go to school, they just have to do it virtually instead of face-to-face. So for employees at their work site who test positive, all co-workers that are within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more must quarantine for the 14-day time period. Of course, there is the exception for essential employees. And a negative test within the quarantine period does not justify releasing from quarantine. So basically, if you're on day 6 and you're supposed to be in quarantine for 1 more week and you go and get a test and you're negative, you still have to stay in quarantine for the rest of the time period. So just to be clear on that. Next slide. COVID-19 and flu season combined, we are in flu season. We know that hospitalizations do occur during flu season from just regular seasonal flu. Our concern is with co-infection with COVID-19 and flu. It is really, truly at this point unknown if co-infection increases the risk of severe illness. It is important to receive a flu shot, and you're still able to get one, right now as we're at the beginning of flu season. We are hosting a drive-through flu clinic this Thursday from 8:30 to 1:30 at the Health District, and you can call the 826-1303, and we are charging a $10 fee. Anyone 6 months of age and up can come through. Next slide. So comparing, I told you last week that we were going to keep showing you the flu cases last year's compared to this year's. So last week when I showed you, there were 49. The line that goes all the way through the top line, the blue line, if you will, is the one from last year. The one at the bottom, the red line, is this year's. So last week it was 49 cases last year and 6 flu cases this year, which is a good thing. That means we're seeing less flu this year, probably because of all the strategies that have been implemented. So, and then last week, it was 43 cases last year and 16 cases this year. So a little bit of an increase in those flu cases. Next slide. This is a different graph because this one actually shows COVID-19 cases this year compared to flu cases this year. And so if you look at week 37, and that's the week of September 7th, we had only 6 cases of flu, but we had 111 cases of COVID-19 in Nueces County. So the following week, we had 90 cases of COVID-19 and 3 cases of flu, 87 and 6 cases of flu, 76, and that should be 6 cases, not 4, of flu, and then 27 with 16 cases of flu. So just to show you, there's still a lot more COVID-19 that's in the community than right now, what we're seeing in flu. Next slide. We're still recruiting providers. The Health District has an immunization program that has a grant with the Department of State Health Services, and we are what's called Texas Vaccine for Children providers and also adult safety net providers. So we will be the central hub, if you will, for information when the vaccine comes, the COVID-19 vaccine. We will know who the providers are that are signed up in our community. We'll also know how much vaccine they've requested, how much they receive, and how much they give out. So we are still assisting the Texas Department of State Health Services to sign providers up so that way they can receive the COVID-19 vaccine directly. Next slide. So we all know that the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, has an interim phased approach to the vaccination. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, and Phase 4. For Phase 1 is very limited doses available. We continue working closely with our emergency management, both city and county, the fire department, police department, and other community partners to enhance our COVID-19 vaccine distribution plan. So right now, this is the way it looks. On Phase 1, with very limited doses, you'll be vaccinating healthcare workers, critical infrastructure, essential workers, long-term care facilities. Phase 2, it'll be the critical population and the general population. Phase 3 will be to ensure equitable access to entire population. And Phase 4, you should have enough for the whole general population and enough to give the second dose requirement. Next slide. So Halloween's around the corner. So some of the things that we've talked about are just risk strategies and just knowing what your risk is that you're willing to take this Halloween. So I'm going to start from the bottom end. So you're at lower risk of getting COVID-19 if you're just at home, virtual Halloween costume contest with family members, on Zoom, or you're carving or decorating your pumpkin with your family members. Very low risk if you're, all enjoying a movie, a family night, a spooky night, Halloween night. That's low risk. Moderate risk is going to be if you decide to do some trick-or-treating where goodie bags are lined up to grab and go and you're out there, or you're decorating pumpkins with your neighbors, but you're still trying to social distance, that's going to be a moderate risk. Or you're doing an outdoor Halloween movie night with family and friends and you're still spacing, that's going to be moderate risk. And then the highest risk is going to be the traditional trick-or-treating, the trunk or treat where treats are being handed out from trunks of cars. That's going to be the highest risk for contracting COVID-19, as well as attending crowded costume parties that are inside or attending Halloween festivities. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm available. Please remember to always practice the 3 Ws, wearing your mask, watching your distance, and of course, washing your hands as often as possible.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, this is a question for City Manager. On the Parks Master Plan, you had mentioned that this was parks associated as an overall.
Hold on just a second. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Rodriguez?
COVID? Yeah.
No? Well, thank you very much. We appreciate all your work, and we'll try to stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annette.
I'll just buy the bag of candy and just pass it to myself. Okay, excuse me now, Mr. Hernandez.
Okay, you had mentioned there was a master plan updating for the entire park system, and you had, but you didn't you left out some specific items, like, for example, regional parks, swimming pools, and then the master plans for individual parks. So can you kind of provide some more detail around that?
Yeah, sure. So the master plan will look at the entire system to include that swimming pools, playgrounds, seating areas, even trees, shade canopy. It's not going to lay out a plan for every exact park. Like, it won't have a page to say this is exactly how we want this park laid out necessarily. However, with respect to Bill Witt Park, the same company, Half and Associates, they are doing a detailed master plan for that regional park, and that's part of their scope of work. That was something that we had that's something that we had in the 2020 budget. And so that regional park will have a very specific design master plan for that park. The same company is going to be doing it.
Okay, is that apply to all regional parks or just Bill?
No, just the Bill Witt.
Okay.
Yeah, so the master plan will have kind of bigger conceptual goals. However, the Bill Witt, under a separate contract, will have a very detailed plan. So we'll see exactly where things should go in that park and how the treatment, when you drive in, and any fencing, that type of thing.
Okay, I'll
Yes,
get
sir.
with you afterwards to
Okay.
talk a little bit more.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, that gets us to item G, is the approval of the October 13th minutes. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
There's a motion, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, consent agenda is item 2 through 11, and I understand we want to pull number 11 until after we have a chance to go into executive session during the lunch break. So we'll pull item 11, is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor. Yes,
All
sir.
right. So, anyone have any consent agenda items 2 through 10? If not, I'll entertain a motion for passage. Most of these are second reading.
Mayor,
Excuse me? Uh, 5 is the towing item.
Mayor, I'd like to pull number 7, 9, and 10.
All right, did somebody want to pull 5 or no? Yes. Okay. All right, anything else? So we got 5, 7, 9, and 10 have been pulled. 11 obviously pulled for the executive session.
Right.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion on approval for items 2, 3, 4, 6, 8. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and second for items 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. Any discussion on that? Any public comment registered for that, Ms. Huerta?
Well, besides for 5, no, sir, yeah.
All right, that's been put. All right, all in favor of 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 have been approved. First one, item for discussion, item 5, Ms. Wartho. I think you pulled that.
I did. I was just, with all the comment and some emails that we received, I've got some concerns.
Okay.
Probably, well, I'll let you go ahead and, I guess, clarify some of that.
Okay, sure. Kim Baker, Director of Contracts and Procurement. I'm happy to address any of the questions that you have from what you heard today. I know it was an earful. So I wrote down the 3 main points that were brought up this morning. One was that the bidders were not allowed to be present at the bid opening. And as you know, due to COVID, we do not allow the bidders to come in public. And we do those meetings via WebEx normally. In this case, the buyer did make a mistake in that we normally put that information out in an addendum. She simply forgot. When she realized that she forgot, she contacted all the prospective bidders. She let them know they had an option to either do it via WebEx, to call in, or they could call her afterwards and she would read the numbers to them. They all chose to call in afterwards. There was no issues raised. I have the email where she corresponded back and forth with Ms. Rivera about this, and there was no issue at the time that the bids were taken. As soon as the bid numbers were opened, they called and she read off the bids to every one of them. Those bids are witnessed by another staff member. They are recorded in a bound book that we keep in our office. So there was opportunities, and if she had become concerned and said, hey, it's my right to be there, I want to be there, I would like to be there in person, I promise you my buyer would have called me right away and said, Kim, what do I do? And we would have come up with a different plan. We would have lined them up down the hall, put them out in the rotunda, done something to accommodate, had we known that it was an issue for her. The bid tabulation was brought up. As you can see in the agenda item, we did have a low bidder that was deemed non-responsible. We were just as disappointed about that as they were, because it would have saved the city money. But the bid was very clear about what equipment that they had to have to do this work. This is not light towing. This is not towing your average sedan. This is towing fire trucks and dump trucks and very heavy, heavy vehicles. So there were specific requirements in the scope that defined the type of equipment they had to have. When CC Wrecker won, Jim went personally to their location to inspect their equipment. And he came back to me personally and said, Kim, I'm very sad to tell you, but he does not have what's required. Even at Jim's face value, I still asked for the gentleman to turn it in himself so that we could evaluate it against the specs. He did so. He did not have the equipment that was required, so we informed him he would be deemed non-responsible. That's why you see him not being awarded the bid.
Want me to add to that?
Sure, if you'd like.
Yeah, let me do that. This is a heavy equipment contract, a heavy equipment tow contract. The low bid was not responsible, and the reason being is they had no Cat 4 truck. That's a truck with the most capability that's required. There wasn't any. I've heard today that they have a truck. We checked with TDLR. There's no such truck listed. So they just didn't have a Cat 4 truck. On a Cat 3 truck, the spec called for a gross vehicle weight ratio of 53,000 pounds. We did manufacturer's gross weight ratio of 53,000 pounds. I checked on the inside of the door. The manufacturer's gross weight ratio was 32,000 pounds. What they'd done was they'd added to that truck. So that's why they were non-responsible.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Another item that I'm going to let Jim cover, the charges that she talked about on invoicing, because I don't do invoicing, so I don't know anything about any charges that were placed on the invoice. That's not my area. But I did want to clear up some confusion also on the contract amount, because that seemed to be causing some confusion for some folks, and I can understand why. Mm-hmm. So when we put these bids out, we get the quantities from the department. They tell us how many times they think they towed this or that or what have you, and that's what builds the bid sheet. When we got the bids in and we multiplied all the math out, this came up to be like a $600,000 contract. When it went to our executive staff for review, they said, wow, that's a lot of towing. You know, $600,000 in towing in 3 years. What all is going on here? We need to look into this. You know, that seems to be a lot of stuff breaking down or getting in wrecks or what have you. So when they went to do the research, they found that that's not what we had been spending. So when they researched it, it came out to about $165,000 for a 3-year period, not $600,000. So they asked, it's an on-call contract. You're going to call them when you need them. So the contract value, can it be lowered? And we said it can. We do have to verify with the bidder, though, that they are okay with us lowering the contract, because, you know, sometimes it could have affected their price. And they said, yeah, it's an on-call contract. Our price is what it is. When you call us to tow, this is what the price is. Whether you do it 100 times, 1,000 times, or however often you do it, this is our price. So that decision was made as they were getting ready to bring it forward, because they didn't want to encumber those monies or have those monies locked up if they weren't needed.
Okay, so on that point, that's extremely important to me. And I think that, so you're saying it went out to bid at 600,000?
There was no dollar value given when it went out for bid. It was a set number of quantities at a unit price. And when you did the math, it would come up to about $600,000.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So we didn't change any of that. The ultimate contract value is all that was changed. What the city is committing to spend. Now, if we do double the amount of tows we did before, we would have to increase the contract. But right now, this is a historical average of what we've actually spent.
The
165.
Right. So what they saw and how they bid is based on, wouldn't that somewhat be based on the amount that they would based on what was sent out originally? The amount that they, may need to tow or not?
No, it's a unit price contract.
Right.
So it's just going to be what it's going to be. It's very similar to, anything else that's unit price, laying pipe. You might put down, you have 5,000, linear feet of pipe, but at the end of the day, you might only lay 4,000, and you're only going to pay for what you lay. So it's the same with the towing. You're only going to pay for what you actually tow. So
my concern is the smaller business. Right. If this went out at a certain, and I'm understanding what you're saying.
Yes.
That if this went out and a smaller business was not able to bid on it because it went out at a higher
but it didn't go
quantity
out at a higher,
amount
yeah.
or whatever, because obviously a number changed. So we're not rebidding it. We're changing the contract amount.
Because nothing in the bid itself changed. It's just the contract value. So the city does this. You've seen it before. You just may not recall, but we set contracts all the time that are on call based on a budget value. Mm-hmm. So if Jim looks at his budget and says, hey, I spend, $160,000 over 3 years, sometimes we will put that in the contract. We'll put
this contract will not exceed $160,000 for 3 years, and they'll give us the unit price for that. In this case, they just listed quantities of towing. Now, but I understand your point, and I want to make sure you also know that we do consider the small businesses. And what I mean by that is when we first started working on towing, all of this stuff, all of the light tows and the heavy tows were combined. And when that is combined into one bid, guess what happens? The guys that can tow the sedans can't play because this requires such heavy equipment. So Jim and I worked together and said, you know what, that's a problem. That's going to limit the competition. So we split a while back this into 2 bids. So you're going to see another bid in like March where the smaller companies that have smaller equipment, they will be able to participate on the normal sedans and things that we have that require normal size wreckers. This particular bid is for very, very heavy equipment. And again, we split it so that the smaller businesses have an opportunity to tow for the city, just not fire trucks.
Right.
Okay? Because they don't have the equipment and it would cost them a fortune to get the equipment.
Right.
The heavy equipment contract is a difficult contract because of the type of equipment involved. For example, on a Cat 4 piece of equipment, they range, if new, from anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million per copy. And a Cat 3 machine will be anywhere from $300,000 to $600,000, $650,000. It's high dollar stuff. I'm very concerned about the quality of the towing because we have millions of dollars. We have 347 vehicles that fall into this category in this city. And so I'm really concerned about the level of skill of the people towing, and I don't want any damage to the equipment when just because what'll happen is it has a profound impact. For example, if it's a garbage truck, they're critical, and we have to collect garbage. So this contract here is a very difficult, it's an equipment intensive contract.
Okay. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't see any other question. The only question, Mr. Roy, did you have one? Go on.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because one of the things I was thinking about, you know, irregardless of the public comment, was that, so 3 years, $165,000, and I was curious about what the cost of the actual tow truck is going to be. Would it be more prudent if the city looked into obtaining, would it pay for itself? If the city looked into obtaining its own wrecker of that size?
Maybe.
Because it seems to me, if you do the math, that it would be.
Well, good question, sir, and let me just address this. If we were to go into Cat 4 tows, it's a high dollar piece of equipment to get Cat 4 tows, and then I have to get people and I got to get them trained. So what you'd have to do is run the traps on the budget on 4 or 5 people that are capable of that, because it's a 24/7 operation. So I have to have a night crew, I have to have a day crew, and I have to have equipment. And I think that for a not-to-exceed value of $165,000, I think that's a reasonable value. I did some calculations because of the fame of this contract. I mean, we're here talking about it, you know, and basically it's about $40,000 a year.
Yeah, and you just said something that I forgot. It's a not to exceed at 165, so you're only paying for what is utilized.
And I'd like to address for just a moment about the individual who made the comment to the council about the invoices. It's interesting getting an invoice 5 minutes before you're supposed to come up, but we got them and we came through, and this is the story. Basically, the high dollar invoices are for recovery. They're not for towing. For example, we stuck a bulldozer in 2017. That's one of the points that was brought up out at the the Elliott landfill, buried it. That's a $3,000 recovery, okay? There was one other garbage truck that tipped over on its side. It damaged a good deal of the garbage trucks, and not only was it the recovery involved, but they had to get the truck in towing shape to tow it back to my yard. And these other contracts, every one of them involves recovery operations, so that's the explanation on there. Recovery operations are not covered in this contract, but they're covered by an individual, in this case, Apollo, that's extremely capable of pulling bulldozers out of deep holes, recovering garbage trucks that turn over, and so on and so forth. So that's what those invoices are about.
Okay, any other question? Just as a matter of curiosity, I'm just trying to find out, are your zones based on geographic areas? In other words, this zone like council districts, it's zone 1, zone 2, zone 3? But these numbers, these quantities that you have there, surely that's not reflective of on your experience of number of calls. I mean, are you telling me that in zone 1, you have a record every day going out to zone 1, every day of the year?
I don't have a heavy equipment record, sir, going out every day, but I probably have a light equipment record going out every day.
Yeah, Mayor, the answer is no. On that bid tab sheet you're looking at, that's the issue, that the quantities were the highest level. We don't need those quantities. It's really about, what, a tenth of that we buy? Maybe 2/10. So those were set at the extreme height. It's too much for us. We didn't need that amount.
Well, I was going to say that. I mean,
Yeah.
You've got 4 zones, and if you've got 4, 7, 10, you've got 1,000 calls going out every year.
Yeah, no, that's not.
And that just, I mean, we either need new equipment or we need somebody new in charge of maintenance.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's part of the issue. When they put the bid tab out, these quantities were overstated by as much as 6 times, or, I don't, right?
In some
Well, and then,
Yeah.
and from a small business owner, herein lies the problem with, even though in this case, you're talking heavy equipment. But if I'm a small business owner, there's two ways to look at it. One, if I think, man, I'm going to get 300 calls this year, so I can drop my rate per call, because I'm going to get 300 of them. But if I'm only going to get 50, I can't do them for the, let's just say I'm number 1 there, say at 230. If I'm going to get 50 calls, I can't do it for 230. But if I'm going to get 300 in a year, I may be able to drop that price. So if I'm bidding this contract, you've got to know, and I've bid contracts for the government at the Naval Air Station and other places, if you know you've got one section, maybe you get 1 or 2 calls, or 1 or 2 type shipments in my business. On the other one, you get 500. They're all moving within the United States, they're doing something else, but you get 1 to Germany, 1 to France, 1 to someplace else. So you can reduce your price knowing based on your volume, but I mean, that one going to France, I'm going to charge a whole lot because I don't get but 1. If I had 100 going to France, I could drop that down. So, if you're trying to make your balance come in at the low bid, you drop your price on your high volume ones, and then you stick your price up on, or if you know you only get the 1 go to France, maybe you drop it to real low because okay, I'll eat it on that 1 in order to get the others. So next time I do it, I think you need to use some realistic numbers, because I mean, and that may be more for your sedan people as opposed to your heavy hauling, but.
Absolutely, Mayor, and I understand that. What's interesting is if you look historically at the number of calls, and then you look historically at what these competitors in this particular heavy equipment bid, it's very close, and that's not to mitigate what you're talking about at all, but I just wanted to put that out as information, how it really works out.
And based on what you said of this guy, these aren't people that are involved in wrecks. These are people that blow an engine out here. They get stuck at the garbage landfill, or they run off in a mud ditch. Some of them may be wrecks.
Yeah, it could be turned over garbage truck on its side.
But again, what you're saying is these are for vehicles that become unmovable on their own, not because they've been involved in an automobile accident.
Right.
They've blown an engine, they've thrown a rod.
These are all city vehicles, Mayor. This is just for city vehicles.
Right. Yeah,
so,
but I mean,
city heavy equipment.
Hey, Mayor, this is vehicles over 19,000 pounds GVWR.
I understand the heavy truck. I mean, I operate trucks. I understand weights on trucks. I'm just talking about the mechanics. I mean, if I had to send a wrecker out every day of the week to pick up one of my trucks, I'd be in trouble. And this reflects, we've either got a problem in maintenance or we way over exaggerated the number that we use. Okay. Anything else on item number 5? Entertain a motion for approval on this contract, and this is a 3-year contract?
It is, sir.
All right, entertain a motion on item number 5.
I'll make a motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of awarding item number 5, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, item number 7. It's the second reading of this, right?
Yes, Mayor.
All right.
They're both with the Director
Mr.
of Finance.
Hernandez, I think you pull it, what you want.
Yeah, no, I actually pulled this because there was some people that voted no, and I abstained from it. So I just want to make sure that we able to vote for the same.
So you're wanting to abstain from it this time?
Yes.
Okay. Is that all? That's all.
Yes, yes.
All right. Let the record reflect, Mr. Hernandez is going to abstain from item 7. For the record, so that that's clear. Ms. Worth, we'll entertain a motion for approval of item number 7.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? I'll second. And call the roll, and Mr. Hernandez is going to request to abstain.
So for passage of ordinance number 7 on its second reading, Mayor McComb?
Aye.
Council members Guajardo?
No.
Hernandez abstains. Hunter?
Aye.
Molina?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
And Barrera.
Aye.
The ordinance passes.
All right. Item number 8.
Number 9.
No, number 9, I'm sorry. Who had that one? Somebody wanted to ask a question about number 9?
Yes, sir.
I did.
Who did? Okay.
All right.
Okay, on this one, I was looking at it and at the force main, and I appreciate this is actually happening because this affects District 5. And, but I wanted to ask some questions on the type of material you're using. If you're expanding it beyond just, I had the steel pipe or an iron pipe. Are we gonna be doing more? Hopefully, we're not replacing it with iron pipe.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir. Actually, we don't know until they kind of go through, because I think the whole purpose of this project was to see if we could rehabilitate it or replace it, and they would do some cost estimating on the materials and what would it entail. And then a third option was to see if we could just get rid of the lift station altogether, how much that would cost, make it a gravity main directly into OSO. So that's the purpose of this.
Is that possible? I mean, okay. If it's a gravity main, then you can open it up to possibly different materials, right? So HDPE would be something that you would for gravity as opposed to just PVC or something along those lines.
Yes, sir, we could, because it actually goes directly to the headworks at the lift station, or at the OSO treatment plant.
Okay, well, I'm looking at, in terms of what's best for us, if you can, I don't know what your requirements are on the, for the engineering on what materials they can look at, but if you open it up to all materials, I think we can look at what best saves us money over the long haul, especially and also longevity. I thought this pipe should have lasted 50 years, but I'm seeing it's only going to be 37 in that range. So are we also looking at that?
We are, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so as long as long as the door is open for all materials to be considered, I think this is a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, and I just want to make sure of that. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments?
I'll make a motion.
Excuse me?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any additional comments, questions? All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that number 11, I think, gets us to, we're going to skip number 11.
Number 10, sir.
Yeah, 10 is next.
10?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who's going to do 10? Orin?
Nina Nixon Mendez, Assistant Director.
In looking at the information here, I didn't really see North Beach as part of this. Are we not including that in this?
North Beach it was proposed for a joint application with Nueces County.
Okay, so this is separate from...
This is separate. This is our sole applications, so these don't represent joint applications. I did want to let you know that North Beach, I believe the county has opted to postpone their application to the second round of funding, so they still want to pursue it. But they felt based on the fact that the feasibility study that's currently being conducted, they wanted to wait to the outcome of that study. The county wanted to wait to the outcome of that study before submitting. And so the communication that we've received from Judge Canales is that they'll be moving forward in the round 2 of funding, which should be probably in the spring with the North Beach application. And council had entertained that at a previous meeting, if you recall.
Okay. The other question I had for you was specifically on the Osceola Creek bottom recertification aspect of it. It's quite a large area.
Yes, sir.
And can you explain how that we can address that with such a large area to cover as opposed to being more specific in the selection criteria?
Right. So this particular project proposes bottom rectification of the channel of a 12-mile section, which extends from Greenwood Drive down to Yorktown Boulevard. And so this is a project that would smooth out the channel and would provide better flow of the runoff. And an interesting part of this project, it emphasizes green infrastructure. And so bank stabilization is also a large component of this particular project. And so the outfalls and areas that essentially intersect with bridges and other infrastructure, the bank could be stabilized with this particular project. And this project has been modeled, and it does offer a large benefit to the neighborhoods on the north side of the creek, and that includes the lakes neighborhoods, King Lakes, and other neighborhoods. And so we do have the modeling that does support the project. It could also provide benefit to the newly annexed areas as well.
Okay. Thank you. I was just
Yes, sir.
concerned that it might be such a large scope of a project that it might not get funded, but okay. Thank you.
Also, if I may, Councilman, we can apply up to $100 million for these applications. So, you know, it doesn't quite reach that amount, but so it seems like this particular design competition really was designed for these large, big-ticket items that would have a regional impact to the area.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
With that, I make a motion to approve.
I got it.
All right, Mr. Roy?
Okay, yeah.
I wanted to clarify one thing. You said that, are those monies first come, first serve?
It's a competition.
Yeah, so by us waiting to the second round, is that going to harm our ability, do you think, to be able to be competitive?
I believe that there will more than likely be sufficient funding for a second round. They've reserved half of the amount for the second round. So they've reserved money for that second round.
And I just want to understand the county's rationale on this. They're saying that basically they want to wait until the end of the study on North Beach to apply. Is that going to change?
I think that would, yes, sir, that's a very good question. I think essentially that will help strengthen the application. The more details that we can include in an application, the more information that would be supportive of an infrastructure project would be beneficial for the application. So in a way, I do believe that essentially by waiting, it could strengthen the application. And being that that second round of funding, they already have the pot of money reserved for that, I don't think it would, harm us, in other words, because the pot is already reserved. That pot of money is already reserved.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, and Nina, and thanks staff. These are some great projects. I mean, high dollar projects on there that we've had a huge need for with it. What are our chances? Do you have any idea? This is kind of a too good to be true type of thing.
All right. Well, it's, the scoring criteria is published. I think we have a very good chance at many of our projects. For one thing, a good many of them meet the low moderate income area benefit criteria, which is important in CDBG applications. They also have another criteria of urgent need, and Oso Creek falls in that particular criteria. And with the significant impact of the flooding in that area, we certainly have demonstrated urgent need for that particular project. The other thing is that the plans must be included in a local adopted plan. Most of these projects are either in our capital improvement program, they're in our HMGP plan, they're in our area development plans and our Plan CC, so that strengthens our application as well. And then they also look at what our current mitigation activities are today. And of course, we just were awarded funding for the Lavoya Creek project. We just adopted our 1-foot freeboard with our flood management program and our new maps. And we have, of course, this plan for our downtown to strengthen our levees. And so we have so many projects that we're working on overall, over the entire city. And that's something they look at and they consider. They also look at capacity of the organization. And we have a lot of strength with respect to that in terms of our past performance and grants. So I believe we're going to figure pretty strongly in these proposals.
And when will they be making the awards? What's the timeline?
I'm assuming it's going to be in the spring, possibly March.
Quickly then is.
Yes, sir.
And if we don't make the first bucket, can we go try again?
We can try again, and in fact, that's what I'd like to do is, certainly with the city manager, form our committee again, and we've worked, with our utilities department, with Public Works, storm division, and, I know that we have many, many more projects out there that could be competitive in the second round as well.
And just looking at this list of projects, I think you all have done a real good job. And, we're talking people out there, hundreds of millions of dollars of stuff that we would normally have to take out of our ordinary budget. So thank you all for getting this in for the first round. So we're early in the process, and hopefully some of them will come through. Thank you.
All right, any other comments? Keep our fingers crossed. All right, entertain a motion for item number 10.
I made the motion.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. We pulled item 11. We'll go down then to item 12. It's a public hearing, amending the urban transportation plan map for mobility CC. Who's going to handle this one?
Yeah, Dan is going to. Yep, go ahead,
good
Dan.
evening, Mayor, council members. Daniel McGinn, Director of the Planning Department. I do have a presentation for this. It's item number 6 in the Y drive there.
All right, go ahead.
But this next item is a proposed amendment to the urban transportation plan to remove a small portion of a collector road between Air Street and the frontage road of Crosstown Expressway. I'm not seeing the presentation up. I don't know if you have it up in front of you.
We're not either, so we're even. There we go.
Okay. Next slide, please. This is just a look at the location map. The applicant is ID Schools, is proposing a new campus identified here with the red polygon kind of in the middle of the screen there. The site is southeast of the interchange of South Padre Island Drive and Crosstown Expressway. You can see Holly just to the south. Civitan Drive, where the city complex is, all our utility kind of buildings, the animal control, it kind of loops from Air Street all the way back then over through to Holly Drive. This site is really right at that proposed intersection. The campus is about approximately 15 acres. And in evaluating their request to remove this portion, it obviously kind of makes the development of that site very difficult. But we actually do have Civitan Road, which is a road that I had not ever been on until this request came in. But we do have a portion of the Civitan that does continue west from the intersection at Air Street, but it does kind of turn north and kind of straddle. It goes adjacent to the site to the east and then comes out along the frontage road there to the north, closer to the interchange. So we do have some east-west movement in that area. That area has about four houses, I think, one or two businesses in there. So it's not a highly used road. So we do have that connectivity, but I think more importantly, you have Holly Road to kind of the south, which drives a lot of that east-west movement in this area. The other major item that kind of was leading us to recommend approval was, in this case, we don't have an overpass at Crosstown that would allow for that road to continue to the other side. This part of the transportation plan has not been looked at since the Crosstown was developed. So in the development of that interchange in that area, that really cut off that ability to move east-west with that collector road. So the plan is something we do want to look at in different parts of the city, but that is the reason that the collector still kind of existed on the map. It really doesn't serve much of a purpose. So that was one of the major points in us recommending that it could be removed. Next slide, please. This is basically the same map, just kind of removing the air photo so you could kind of get a better look at the network in this area. Next slide, please. And just a quick recap. Again, the applicant is the ID Schools. They're new to the community. I know they have several campuses throughout Texas, a lot in the Valley, San Antonio, Houston area. And that UTV does call for that extension. Again, there is no overpass, so we really don't get that connectivity that we once thought we would. And then it obviously we don't feel that it's warranted at this point given the current situation there. Next slide, please. And finally, we did take this item to the Planning Commission and the Transportation Advisory Committee. Both boards recommended approval of this removal, and staff recommends approval as well. Happy to take any questions now. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, and Dan, I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, but the existing road that's there that curves and turns north, is that actually that's a city street?
Yes, it's a very narrow street. Yes, it is. It is a city street. It does access. There's a few houses there, just kind of on the north end. That there's actually another street called Hill Street that comes off of this road. Again, very, very, very limited trips on this particular road.
So, when this came over and I looked at it, I didn't realize that there was a plan to extend Civitan in a different direction than what was already there. So, looking at it from the perspective of Civitan being itself labeled this way, I mean, that's, if you're going to have a school there, I'm assuming there's got to be improvements to this road. It seems like the entire length of Civitan is built like a county road. There's no sidewalks. It seems to have not really any drainage. Is there a plan associated with this?
They're still early on. This was kind of their first step. I think, they don't necessarily own the track. I think they're in a sales contract to purchase. So this was the first step. They're going, if they were successful with this, I think they would finalize purchase and go through plating process. And to my knowledge, they have not presented a site plan. So we would certainly work with them on where they should be putting driveways and how they would kind of tie in. So yeah, there likely could be some improvements to that Civitan intersection if they wanted to tie into that road. But we could work those things out during that site plan process and approval through development services.
Okay, and so since it is a small road, was it going to continue as a collector?
No, this would remove that section.
No. I'm talking about the existing road that's there. Is that going to be considered a collector?
No, we're recommending no, that we would not classify that, and that would just simply be another local street within the system, and then could be eligible for different funding for improvements through the various programs that your typical, local residential street would be eligible.
And that has a lighted intersection with Air Street. You're going to have a local street coming into a arterial road at a lighted intersection.
Yeah, that the warrants there, they're just not, high enough, I think, to keep it as a collector. I don't think we should be planning to build that, a collector standard for as far as width goes. So I think a 2-lane road is sufficient based on the current trips and projected trips. I think this school will work with them on how they will access. They may not even want to access here. A lot of the traffic could be off of the frontage road, but we would work with them to improve that intersection so there wouldn't be a problem as far as backups or anything like that.
So are you looking to, and like I said, you don't have the site plan, but are you looking to eliminate the easement for that road? It currently exists, the Civitan that curves north?
No, that we can't. That couldn't be removed. That would be kind of the eastern perimeter of the site, so we wouldn't remove that road. We would just have to work with them in the site planning process to see where the best access point. It may not even be off of that road. It could be kind of off the leg, maybe even to the south, or maybe just a direct access point to the Crosstown Expressway frontage road.
Okay. I think there's still a lot of questions associated with what's going to happen there existing. I don't see an issue with removing the easement that's not there, that doesn't have a road existing, but I think they need to take a real close look at what you have with the existing road that's there and how you're going to improve that, or if there's going to be a lot more traffic on it, what that's going to look like. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on that?
I move for approval, Mayor. It's rolling.
All right, just for people
Second.
trying to get of SCOBA, isn't that the big lot that's got the big group of trees growing out in the middle of it, right across from Civitan?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, there is a good bit of vegetation there.
Yeah. Okay, might be interesting what you find in that when you go to clearing it out. There's a motion. Oh, it's a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Ms. Huerta, did you have anybody submit any request to speak in favor of or in opposition to item number 12?
No.
Anyone in the audience? No? All right, we'll close the public hearing, and I believe there was a motion in a second.
Yes, that's
for
right.
approval of item 12. Since it's a public hearing, you'd like to call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. So for passage of ordinance 12 on its first reading, Mayor McComb?
Aye.
Council members Guajardo? Hernandez?
Aye.
Hunter?
Aye.
Molina?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
And Barrera.
Aye.
The ordinance passes.
All All right, we have first reading ordinance, number 13 is an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a grant from the Justice Department for the Police Department. Chief, your people been over there busy finding grants. That's good. Where did Chief go?
You got to keep them
Oh, he's
busy.
right there. I was looking back there to see it. I thought you'd left. You're snuck up on me. All right. You want to address that item 13? Good for your folks doing this work.
Appreciate that. Afternoon, Mayor and Council, Mike Markle, Police Department. Item 13 is Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $157,600. We split this grant with Nueces County. We are the fiscal agents of the grant, though. And we've had this grant since 2008, I believe. And we use this to fund our TASER program and some other technical things. And this year we'll spend a little money on our Department Operations Center to make that more usable. And I stand by for any questions.
Anyone have any questions on item 13?
Move to approve.
Just
Second.
one quick question, Mayor.
Sir.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, again, like I said, phenomenal job going out and getting grants. And how much does this make it? I mean, how much money do you get in grants for the department?
A year, about $2 million.
About $2 million.
Correct.
Well, like I said, much appreciated on your departments getting the grants.
Well, we have a good team, and I appreciate that.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. There's a motion and a second on item 13. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, item 14, I got an airport grant. Looks like they've been doing some good, too. We ought to have a grant contest for one.
Mayor, Council, Fred Segunda, Director of Aviation. The ordinance before you accepts and appropriates Grant 60 in the amount of $8,846,317 from the FAA. The ordinance also awards a construction contract to Head Incorporated from Columbus, Ohio, in the amount of $11,201,609. The 10% match that the project is providing was providing for our FAA CARS Act. The additional funds required to complete the project are available funds from the airport grant 5758, which were previously projects that came under budget. The funding and the construction contract will be used to finish both the terminal apron phase 4 and East General Aviation apron phase 5. This is, the FAA has provided 100% of this funding for this project. I stand by for any questions.
Anyone have any questions on this?
Move to approve.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Just curiosity, I'm looking through here and maybe I overlooked it. This all coming from the FAA. Are they the one taking care of the contractor to you as the airport bid them out?
As the airport, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how many bidders did we have on doing this?
We had 2 bidders. Let me see, I've got them right here. It was Hyde Incorporated and Broonside Service Incorporated, which was non-responsive.
All right, yeah, okay, I saw that. 2 bids for 11 million, and it basically is runway and that sort of stuff, I guess. Okay, good. Appreciate the grants from the feds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. I don't have any briefings, then why don't we go into, let me get back over here. We'll take our,
Yes, sir.
I hate for the folks to sit here, but we got to have the executive session before we go to the item number 11. The council go into executive because that's the last item on the agenda. Council go into executive session on item 15 per the Texas Government Code, section 551.071 and 551.087. We'll return, try to get back by 2 o'clock, maybe a little sooner. That gives us 30 minutes that would do our lunch and our executive session. Is that all right?
That sounds good, Mayor.
Now, going back in here, are we gonna ask
We're gonna
everybody to leave and
the
spread out
latter.
in here?
Yeah, we're gonna stay in the chamber, so we'll have to ask the public to leave.
All right. For those of you that are not, fall under the category of executive session participants, we'll ask you to excuse yourself, and we'll let you know when the party begins. We're going to executive session. And this referred to item 15, related to Next Sports Company LLC. Mike Culbertson with EDC will make the presentation. And I think this is some good news.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Mike Culbertson from your Corpus Christi Regional EDC. The item before you is a Type B grant for Next Sports Company for a soccer complex, although we say soccer is multi-use, for $1.8 million, $50,000, and for creation of jobs. So what this one will do is, you can see that it is located in off of SPID, and it's bisected. Part of it is by Old Brownsville Road. It's in Section 3. It'll be 8 multi-sports with offices and all of the amenities, restrooms and pro shop. $17.2 million in investment and a minimum of 47 full-time jobs. Just to give you an idea, right now, it's 43 acres of cotton farming, depending on which one it is, and you get $6,000 a year on it. So this is a huge improvement. It will also include a 5,000-seat soccer stadium for the Corpus Christi Football Club, which is a professional soccer team. Next slide, please. So it's in District 3. It is close. You can see down to the southwest. There's hotels. Up on the right side is Gabe Lozano, and just north of there is West Oso. So it's in the West Oso School District. It's in a part that in need of investment. Next slide, please. This is a shot of the soccer stadium itself. When they go to, they have a letter from United Soccer League that right now the football club is, think of it as second, like almost A-ball, and they can move up to SL2 1, which is A-ball, A-double-A, and then all the way into SL to SL, and then of course there's Major League Soccer above that. By having this stadium, it gives them a path to rise up in the professional ranks. Next slide, please. Developer has the project the property under contract. It's zoned CG2, so it's they don't have to change zoning on it. 20 to 25 sports tournaments. Now these tournaments, there's like 125 kids running around, 125 teams of kids running around, so they're going to be everywhere. It's going to start in 2022, which is important because they need to be complete so that they can compete for the 2022 tournament schedule. 25,000 room nights. It'll be used by local soccer club, but also sports training, local clubs that can go into. Additionally, on the sports fields, it can be used for flag football. It can be used for other lacrosse, rugby, things like that. Next slide, please. So the agreement basically is $1.8 million. It'll be paid off in 2 parts. For phase 1, once the fields are done and they have to be able to do tournaments, then that can be then that's $1.2 million, and that's December 21, and then December 22, phase 2, they'll have the office building and all the stuff like that. They have 47 jobs, and they have to have that by the completion of construction. And of course, they'll have all the requirements that the city has to for approval of their project. They need to show proof of funding to the city manager within 90 days, and that's in the contract. Also, could you go back one, please? One more. So we've also talked about, well, one more. I'm sorry. I'll get there eventually. So we also want this on the other side of it is basically overflow. And so you might see that when we do large games with the football club as they move up, or friendlies, they bring a club from somewhere else and they just play, it doesn't count in the standings. If they do use that, in the contract it says that they have to form a barrier to funnel people all the way to Cliff Moss so they can cross, so that people aren't dashing across Old Brownsville Road. All right. The EDC board looked at this and they approved it unanimously. The Type B looked at it last month and they approved it unanimously. And Mike Culbertson, approved, supports this, and I ask for your thing, and I stand by for any questions.
Mr. Molina.
Thank you, sir. Can you please go over the economic impact to the community?
Okay, the impact you're going to see is, right now, it's a field, so you don't get much out of it, but you have $17.2 million in property tax. You're going to have all the sales tax that's going to be generated, not only on the complex once they're finished, but at all the places where these families come in and shop as they go through our community. And then you're going to have HOT, which is a hotel occupancy tax, as people stay here either 2 nights or 3 nights. And hopefully in the summer, they'll spread out further and, take in the island or downtown. And those are, not only that, it helps West Oso ISD, the county, the county hospital district. It has a payback, an ROI of 22.9% over 5 years.
Now, I know for the public's sake, there are people out there that might still have a bad taste in their mouth from a previous idea of a sports complex. Can you summarize how different this is from that one?
Yeah, this is not in any way connected with the previous one. But the important part about this is there's the owner, Dr. Okonkwo, has been doing football club here for 3 years. He's a pediatrician. He has a clinic. We've taken a look at the pro forma for their things, and we believe that this is not only that. You'll have to show proof that he can do this. We believe that this has a 100% chance of doing well and adding to our community.
Yeah, because in this situation here, there is an agreement. Part of the agreement says that if there's no proof of funding within the first 90 days, then
it's just over.
It's over. Okay. All right.
Additionally, they have to complete all of the steps to get the money. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and then when they do all that, then the city will pay its portion at the end after they've obtained the CFO and met all the other requirements.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
and I will do that compliance.
And that overall just generally reduces the risk from the city standpoint.
You have no risk.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. Mike, the city of Portland, they have a similar project. It's baseball, not soccer. How successful is that?
They are, if you talk to Randy Wright, they are very successful. In fact, I've passed by there, and they've had tournaments the last 5 weeks going.
Even during the virus.
Right. And apparently they don't have COVID, so nobody's wearing a mask. But anyway, they are doing great. And if you talk to him, one of the things that was Portland, has like 10, 11 hotels, but they would go down on the weekends because they were workers that came in. Now this keeps that up all the way through the weekend. They're very successful.
And was that a privately financed fee?
No, this was all for the city. The city did this.
So the taxpayers paid for that fee?
That is correct.
Okay. $12 million?
I don't know what it was. I'd have to ask Randy.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Guardo?
Well, I just want to thank you guys for the work on this and Doctor for your investment here in Corpus Christi. I think we all hope that this is going to be very successful. I think we've had some conversations, and the sport of soccer is increasingly growing every day or year. So I wish you luck. I think our concerns as a council and as guardians of, our responsibility up here is the things you're going to be in charge of, and making sure that, we have proof and we have absolute solid means to know that this can be and will be financed, and of course the success of it, the jobs are going to stay or actually be attained. So we look forward to that. But any successful deal like this that you have vetted in the way you presented today, I think is very welcome. So we're very happy. Congratulations to you, sir.
And don't forget, FIFA World Cup's coming in 2026, and it's going to be in U.S., Canada, Mexico. And if Houston or San Antonio get one of those games, one of those teams could practice here. So We're probably not going to get England, but, you won't hear the end for Ian. He'll just be off.
Mr. Hernandez?
Sitting quietly.
Yes, thank you, and I'd like to thank Cliff and Dr. Kingsley for meeting with me and providing me more information on this. I was concerned about the timing of it, but I know that he's trying to get it opened up for the 2022 season. So I want to say that and we had some concerns from previous experiences on different sports complexes. So it's one of those things where it's important for us to do our due diligence, making sure that we get all the financing in place. And like I said, it's an ambitious thing to do, and I think if you could make it happen, I'm all the power to you, and I think I wish you the best of luck on it. Thank you.
Mr. Roy?
Yeah, I was hoping that, this is District 3, right?
Yes, sir.
So I was hoping that Councilmember Barrera would say something, but I'm sure he will. One of the things, when you take a look at and we stand back and we look at the big picture of what's going on, I mean, we have the TERS 5 that is involved in that development out there, and that's District 3 also, right?
Yes, sir.
And you just take a look at all the things that this council and city manager have done in terms of making sure that we improve the quality of life. And this is one particular item that I think can exponentially improve the quality of life as we get our, especially, COVID. One of the things I've seen is that I think my daughter, my 11-year-old, has probably spent more time in front of the TV and non-productive things, and thank goodness that sports are starting to open up again and she's out there. This is just another avenue for the youth. This is the things that when I hear the number one thing that people talk about is the quality of life in Corpus Christi and the ability for young parents to be able to have a facility to get their kids out there and get them moving, and it's just wonderful. And I just think sometimes as a council we forget about all the things that we're doing and what we've done in conjunction with you folks as far as making those things happen. So I'm excited. I'm excited. And as they choose a mascot maybe for that level 2, I think there should be a contest or something to help with that mascot, because I'd like to vote on that, Maybe as I leave council, my next job could be the mascot for that. Anyway, thank you.
All right, anything else?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If I may.
All right.
All right. Well, first off, I think Mike's beard would be a great mascot.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, I want to thank Mike and Ian from our Corpus Christi Regional Economic Development Corporation, as well as city staff and Dr. Kingsley and his team. And I want to tell you guys how much I appreciate you as a council that have been so supportive of all the development that we've had going on in District 3. And in particular, on the west side of the community, west of Crosstown. There's been a segment of the community that feels that we paid a lot of attention to the south side, and I think with this particular project, with the TERS meeting we had this morning, with the investment in Salinas Park, all the community out there, I can't tell you how much that the district really appreciates this. I talked to a couple of school board members from West Oso and some of the trustees and the superintendent, and they really appreciate the opportunity to have more ad valorem in here. Thank you, Cliff, for finding this property. And so I think it's a performance-based contract, and one of the things that that I know that Mr. Smith and the mayor appreciate is the fact of the majority of the funds being put into public infrastructure. So that really shows a commitment from the developer. So thank you, everybody, all the way around. Great work. Looking forward to a great project. Lord willing, I'm here in 2022 to be able to go to the first game. And so with that, I move for approval.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Doctor, would you like to make a comment? You don't want to talk us out of it, but come on up.
Well, I'm Dr. Kingsley Okonkwo. I'm a medical doctor, pediatrician, and my passion is soccer. I want to thank the EDC, the Thai B board, and the council for looking into this project, which has always been something I've had in my mind for the last 3 years to bring here to Corpus Christi. I appreciate the fact that everyone sees what it brings to our community. If we go around, we see similar projects in communities of our size. And I think this is a great one that will bring a lot of improve the quality of life generally of people. I personally will go out there and walk out and run and walk as much as I can. And we plan to have a way to open it up to the city, to our community to use when they are free without any cost, in addition to all the tournaments that we want to bring to our city using the facility as our venue. Once again, I just want to thank everyone.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you for this and the medical work you provide our kiddos here in the city too. Thank you. All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor. I think, Ms. Worth, if you wouldn't mind calling the roll.
Yes, sir. So for passage of motion 11, Mayor McComb?
Aye.
Council members Guajardo?
Aye.
Hernandez?
Aye.
Hunter?
Aye.
Molina,
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
And Barrera.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, item 11 passes. Thank you. That gets us down then, I think, to the last item, and that's an executive session, right?
Yes, sir.
So, let me get back to my proper language here. And this will be item number 15. No. Item 16.
Yes, sir. Item 16 is the one we're on.
All right, the council will go into executive session on item 16 per the Texas Government Code sections 551.071 and 551.074, and deals with city auditors, appointment of employment, evaluation, reassignment of duties, or public officer employee, including but not limited to the city auditor. We'll recess the regular council meeting, go into executive session.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to extend until March 1st, 2021, for Ms. Kimberly Houston to pass the third part of her audit examination.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hopefully COVID will get better and they won't have to keep rescheduling. All right, seeing no other questions or lights on, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, go get them.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that then concludes our agenda for the day. Council members have anything on future agenda items? If not, one thing I'd like, Mr. Zanoni, if you would, this week there was a mail out from the Texas Campaign for Environment Fund that was sent to the public, and I'm not sure exactly what their ultimate goal is, but the brochure they sent out was filled with a bunch of misinformation, and I'd like to give you this and have the city attorney look at it. There's considerable amount of misstatements, misinformation that's out there, and the public needs to understand that that what was provided on that mail out is not factual in many cases, and get you to look at it. The group that put it out evidently made some major errors. I won't go into a lot of the details now, but I'll give you this so you can see what I'm looking for. But I mean, one of them is that they're making the allegation that we want to spend $1.2 billion on a desalination plant, and there's absolutely no basis in that. But I think we have to respond when somebody just blatantly makes inaccurate statements. We've got to come back and get to the facts. So I'd like to give this to you to have your staff look at it and
Yes, sir.
make
Yeah,
a
we'll get that.
response, and maybe their next manager's report you can give us some information.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? If not, we got a meeting next week.
Next week, do we have, that's the last meeting for this month is next week. Yes, it's a shorter agenda. That'll be the 27th, and then there'll be 2 in November and then 2 meetings in December.
All right. Well, everybody be safe and stay healthy. And let me remind the public, for those that are still watching, while our numbers are down, I think what you're seeing nationwide, in some areas of the country, you're beginning to see an uptick in cases, and I think that's totally related to 2 things. One is people are relaxing their guard about taking care of their personal responsibility for face masks and washing hands, and as the state opens up with bars and restaurants, the exposure is getting more and more, and we just want to really ask the public to be really vigilant and stick with the protocols of your social distancing, washing your hands, this sort of thing, because we do not want to get back to this position where that we've got to go back into shutdown and reduction mode, because it's pretty exciting getting to open folks up. Bars are getting to be open, but that's also going to have its chances for exposure. So continue to work with us, and our health people will continue to keep us informed and educated. So with that said, meeting adjourned.